Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and I'm joined as always by my good buddies Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
And this time around, we are debating and deliberating the greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. Jeff, is that me? That's me. Oh my gosh. What are you doing? Hey, I traveled back in time. What, to like 20 seconds before you were before? That's right. Why'd you travel back? To tell you the topic of this episode. What is it? I don't know. Ask Michael. It was his idea.
The Mount Rushmore, Jeff's.
What?
Thank you. The Mount Rushmore of traveling back in time.
Are there any caveats? Hey, good question, Jeff.
There are caveats to this. Caveat number one, you're not coming back. This isn't like you're traveling back in time. You're going to mess around with things, then you travel back to the future, and then you're like, oh, let's see what happened. You are wherever you are from your age now for the rest of your life.
Wow.
Bummer, huh?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's cool. I don't know.
Okay.
Number two, you can bring like a standard size backpack full of whatever you want. You don't have to go back empty-handed. But it's not like, I wouldn't say that like you have like a lifetime to prepare for this too. So it's not like you can like learn ancient Phoenician and then that's gonna,
Conversational Phoenician.
You can, whatever you can scribble down on like a little,
Where is the subway?
2x2 post-it of Phoenician. You know, if you draw like like an eye and then like a bird looking left and then a turtle looking upside down.
I will blot out the sun. That's all I know how to say.
That's all I need to know.
And then what was the third caveat?
The location.
Oh yeah,
you can pick a location.
Yeah, it's not like you're traveling back, a million years, and then it's like, oh, now you're in the ocean. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, who cares? Like,
oh okay.
That's not fun.
Yeah.
And gotcha. Time travel politics is no fun.
Yeah.
But I thought about this because I've been listening to a couple of different things. I've been listening to a history podcast recently, and
well, that's on you, dude.
That's on me. And a few months ago, I watched like a PBS documentary, history documentary that was pretty interesting and also pretty
bragging.
This is a real humble.
Pretty.
I watch PBS.
Pretty depressing, actually. And then also was reading a Sandman comic book, and in one of the issues, the titular Sandman meets a guy every 100 years, and he kind of goes through his. He kind of talks about his exploits over the last 100 years and how he didn't die. And some of these hundreds of years of living have been awful for him, even though he's kind of ultimately infinitely lived. But I just thought the idea of living in the past is interesting. But what would you do with it? Or what would you see? What would you try to change? What is interesting about living in the past? I know. I don't know. I think we all fantasize about it in some way or another.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, Michael chose it. Hey, Jeff, go in there and get me a beer.
I can't believe we got to have two Jeffs here.
I know. Do we have to pay them both scale?
Right. Why can't one of them be funny or more knowledgeable? Okay. All right. I'm going to go make out with your wife. It's your wife, dude. Okay. Richard, you start.
All right. So my first choice is 1609. Be at Stratford-upon-Avon.
Okay.
And I would go see the premiere of Hamlet.
Oh, awesome.
Because from what I understand, few reasons for this. First off, from what I understand.
Would you ruin the ending for everybody?
I would just shout there.
Alas, poor York. I knew him well.
Just shout out. Yeah, exactly.
A Man of Infinite Jest. Good novel title.
That's actually a dude in a dress. No, a couple of things. I mean, for one thing, from my understanding, is the crowds at Shakespeare plays were fucking lit. Right?
The groundlings.
It was
like Manny Ramirez hitting a home run in his first
Dodger
at bat.
Stadium. Yeah, it was like Puig Mania or something like that. No, it was very much. There was a lot of the audience was as much a part of going to the performance as the actual performance itself. Very raucous, lively crowd. So I would love to see what that was like, seeing a play in that time versus this kind of hermetically sealed. You go see Shakespeare today, and it's all very. You feel like you're watching it's a time. They want it to be a time capsule in many of these performances. And I would like to see what it was really like back then. And I imagine it was a lot less mundane and a lot more exciting than it probably is portrayed as today.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I think I could be a pretty good theater critic if all I had to do was review Shakespeare.
It doth suck.
Well, you can go one or two ways. You go the easy way, which is, guess what? Another Shakespeare play. Turns out it's really good. Or you could be the guy who's like a Kit Marlowe fan who's like sitting there. You doth, like you said, you doth suck it.
Yeah. Mech boring.
And you could go down his history as the one theater critic who hated Shakespeare. Like Shakespeare's number one enemy.
Yeah.
That seems pretty cool to be Shakespeare's number one enemy.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's
how about
so
that?
funny.
That's pretty awesome. Okay. Okay.
Oh, you came out swinging.
Going back in time to be not just
to be a theater critic.
a theater critic.
How would you, here's a question. How would you sit through that 4.5 hours on like just some really hard wooden bench when you've grown accustomed to
That's true.
easy chairs? Because part of this time travel backwards is you are. Would you just, I guess, put a cushion in your backpack?
That's exactly a blanket or something like that. Also, I understand there's mead at these things. So
I love that.
There you go.
Alternately, you're talking about how kick-ass the crowd is and how it's like kind of going to a party or like a concert or something like
yeah,
that.
it feels like that. Yeah.
But then, and I can't wait to shit on it afterwards.
well, like I said, I could go the easy route and just be like,
Shakespeare's awesome.
Shakespeare's awesome. Guess what? Shakespeare did it again.
Doth it again.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Doth done it again.
The Stratford Gazette headline. Let me
entertainment
turn to
section.
the entertainment section.
I do appreciate that there is an aspect of you just continuing your career as like a writer or like when you used to do like write-ups for what was the
Sports
funny?
and-
What was the sports and what was the funny car stuff that you used to do reporting on?
Oh, sprint cars.
Yeah. I like that partially your career is still going on.
Now, does
Yeah, I like
Shakespeare know this? Like you described being a critic of the plays. Are you in his circle? Are you hanging out at the Queen Anne with a bottle of port, saying, Billy, hey, it's okay. We all write a
We all
flop
make
sometimes.
mistakes.
Yeah.
Hamlet, you sure about that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine there would be some sort of intermingling.
Yeah.
I think the theater people all kind of like hung
Uh-huh.
out together
Yeah.
back then as much as they do today. I mean, the fact that I probably wouldn't understand most of what anyone is saying because
Yeah.
English back then sounded nothing like English
Yeah.
does today, and everyone would look at me like I'm some sort of freak. But
Yeah.
get beyond that.
Yeah, when you start out like the review of Hamlet with like, dude, it blows.
It
People
blows.
would be like,
Blows what?
I love that
What doth it blow?
the immortal bard is sitting at the end of like his little theater box, and he looks over and goes, Richard of Manfredi is here.
Duke of Manfredi is here.
The Duke of... First of all, where doth he come with these cargo shorts? I know not of this apparel.
You shall seeth his legs.
Yes, yeah. Okay, all right. So Richard and 1609 and in Stratford at the Globe. Michael, where do you drop down?
okay, this might be a boring one, but that's why I'm putting it number one. But you got to go back in time and kill Hitler.
Adolf Hitler?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Good, not Joe Hitler.
But you can't do it as, like, here's the thing. You can't do it as a baby, right?
Okay.
Like, there's still something moralistically wrong about killing, like, a baby Hitler.
But what about a toddler?
Well, if he's anything like my toddler, then... no, I think that you have to wait till some of the ideology is, like, baked in, so it's morally justifiable. So you wait till, like, after the war, 1919... when you can get him right before he starts really getting into it.
So when he's painting a still life of apple and banana
Yeah.
at art school.
Yeah, you don't...
Okay.
Because then you're just killing some hapless artist.
Yeah.
But now he's on his path. And that way, around that same time, you can take out Himmler. You can take out Goebbels.
Okay.
You can take out Goring. Like, just start going down the list of, like, trying to get rid of all of... Because ultimately you think, there is this beginning of this horrible Nazi party, and if one person falls away, maybe someone else fills the vacuum and something still rises. Obviously, he's this crazy cult of personality person that helped, his ideologies and his personal struggle really balloon this thing into this horrific thing that it became. But you start taking out the other ones that are also going to feed into this, that are going to become power players too. Then you're talking. I would travel back in time. I'd have put a bomb back there, a gun with lots of bullets, and a little German dictionary, a little travel dictionary.
Okay.
Just, or maybe go back a year early and you start studying.
Yeah.
You start figuring it out because you got to give yourself some time if you're really going to take out one of the world's most recent evil people.
I think it would also make sense to wait until he has shown himself. Well, if you do it before, like he'll have been out of jail. Would it be after World War I?
This is after World War I,
Okay.
so he's been in the army, and so everyone in Germany is in that kind of post. This is the Weimar Republic is
So he'll have gone
capitulated to the Jews and foreigners and all this. All this stuff is starting to really bake in, and he's already down that path, and he's starting to join with the National Socialists.
Okay, but you're still killing a guy that went to jail, was a criminal by all rights, versus
he hasn't quite they haven't quite done like the what is it, the beer hall putsch. They haven't quite done that in like the sometime in the mid-20s, but you just got to get him before he's able to write that fucking book.
Because you killed an innocent guy, then you're just going to get killed too. You're just going to go but you can't go back forward, so you got to.
Do you think that you can do this and not get caught?
Well, there's the thing. I think a lot of time travel, and I put a lot of thought into this, is very personal and very egotistical. You're going back and if you're committing an act, you are importing yourself on it, especially knowing you can't go back. So it's you're doing it for yourself, but you're also doing it for the future. You don't know what the future is going to turn into. But in theory, you're taking out something that could possibly be. I mean, maybe it could be even worse in the future, but whatever.
Presuming
if you get killed in that moment, at least you're dying knowing, at least I've tried to enact that change. But it's very egotistic. Narcissistic, I should say.
If you have solved time travel, and you are a middling to scientist.
We haven't quite solved it. You've solved it one way.
Okay.
You're waiting for someone else to.
You
fix
can go
on the
as
back
Huey
end.
Lewis would say. Yeah. Back in time. There's 100 other people standing there. Trying to kill Hitler. I think by this time,
if you take a number.
If you two are standing next to me back there, and we're doing it too. Hey guys, let's do invent a radio show about doing this.
And I imagine by the time he is of maturity, maybe 40, Hitler is so used to people trying to kill him because 100 of people a day are trying to kill this guy, right?
He's not quite that old yet, I don't think, but
okay. But you don't think if the time travel was something that everybody had access to, that's everybody's first stop. That's the tourist destination.
That's why I put it number one. Yeah, it's everyone's potential time traveling. I get to murder somebody, and it's actually a good thing fantasy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. All right. And Richard, what's your second?
My second one, suggested by my wife, was to go back to the late 1800s and become a baseball pitcher. Or some sort of baseball player.
Oh, that's funny.
In the Deadball-era. Because, as she pointed out, really, that's your best bet to be like a professional athlete, is to go back to when everybody was like 5'5" and kind of out of shape, and they were throwing the ball. They just barely progressed from throwing the ball soft and underhanded when they first started to realize, wait, if we throw it overhand, we could throw it faster.
Yeah.
And that's actually harder to hit. So you see, I think if I took about a year just to prep and just worked on even a shitty curveball,
Yeah.
or a shitty breaking ball or a shitty slider, it would just, they wouldn't know what to do with it. They would be like, it'd be like the Bugs Bunny, like strike one, strike two, strike three, you're out.
They'd run you out of town for being a warlock, for like whatever you're doing with your hands. At least putting up curse on the ball. The ball's not allowed to do that thing.
I would like to see
Gadzooks.
I would like to see if that would lead to some sort of rule that said, like, you can't throw like any pitch that moves or breaks or curves because this one guy came along and fucking ruined baseball for everybody.
Well, don't you think that was how it appeared the first time we saw something like that anyway? Do you think somebody, what the hell? And then
what do you just do with that thing? How do you make that happen?
Oh, you just did it earlier, though.
Yeah, just do it. But I think that there was a natural progression that led up to the split-fingered fastball or whatever. I think if you just kind of pull it out of nowhere, it becomes shocking.
I do appreciate a 44, 45-year-old pitcher just starting in the big leagues and just being like, this is just what we're doing.
Yeah.
Sure.
How's your hitting? Because you also had to not only pitch 9 innings, but you probably had to hit too.
Oh, I'll just bunt a lot.
Okay.
Everyone bunted. just so. Again, everyone else is lobbing like 40 mile per hour like lollipops over the plate. So I think I could
I love this.
I think I could do that about as well as I could a rec league softball league. So
I would love that you also tell them about artificial turf and cocaine.
Yes.
Like, and they say, well, we know the second one.
The second one, yes, of course, obviously. We're all doing it. What are we, fools?
Oh, how funny.
But the first way out, I can't get I can't get an aluminum bat into my backpack as Michael has.
Yeah.
But I can get a glove that is 3 times the size of those little like pissant things that they were using for gloves back in the day. I would like to see how that would go.
Would you bring like a jar of like sticky stuff, like whatever, like spider tack or whatever they're doing now, or just how you can doctor it up?
Oh yeah. Well, even though I imagine back then they had every type of spitball and newspaper in the glove, or sandpaper in the glove, and God knows what else. So
would you also try to go back and just be like, listen, this Cleveland Indians thing is going to last 127 years. Just change it now.
You're going to change it.
Yeah, you just do it. No, you guys had it right with the spiders.
With spiders,
Just do that. Go back to that.
Okay, that's a fun one. So maybe Michael's death tour, homicide tour of history will continue.
Who you killing next?
Santa Claus.
That's right. 1022, Santa Claus, the North Pole. I'm murdering that fat man before we let's reclaim December 25th back, getting it back
before
to the parents.
Ruins it.
Before he ruins it. 1789, Philadelphia. Going back in time to talk to the founding fathers with a history book.
Yeah, I briefly had that one on my list. I took it off.
To be like, listen, the original sin of this country, you are going to regret it. If not you, it will be regretted for not ending slavery then and there, not recognizing the path of like genocide of the American Indians going forward. You've just broken free from the British. And like the compromise between the northern and the southern states is just going to doom you for it is going to be the thing that is just going to put such a stain on this country for its entire existence. You can't get away from it. And, of course, the thing that they did was they punted the ball for 20 years. They agreed to the 3/5 compromise for mostly, initially, I guess in the original Articles of Confederation, is because you had to pay like a tax into the government, like based on your population. So they just wanted to pay less money.
Oh.
And ultimately it became, when the Constitution was written, they reversed it because it became about actual representation of representatives in the states.
A slave is 3/5 of a person when you're being taxed, but it is a full person when you're...
And then they changed it around where they wanted the slaves to be only recognized as 3/5 of a person for representation of the population. So, like, it's fucked up either way.
Yeah.
Anytime you're trying to, dissect a human being into or, count a human being as anything other than a full person is awful. But there was just like this one moment where America could have really gotten it together from the start, and then they chose kind of a very cowardly cowardly path forward, especially when they wrote into the Constitution, is you can't talk about slavery basically for 20 years. They basically was like, okay, let's get our foot in the door and let's start our country, and then we'll deal with this later. And it's like by that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of supporting evidence would you put into that backpack to say this is what's going to photos or
big history book? I've got a big history book that I would take back and be like, listen, I don't care if I'm going to ruin the rest, show you what's happening for the rest of the world, but look at, I mean, the thing is, I was thinking about this too, is does that destroy what eventually becomes rock and roll?
Oh.
Because of all of the pain of the blues and all of the suffering. Like, does rock music never happen because of that? Like, what are the
What's the butterfly effect?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that could happen from.
By the rock
Do we
era.
have Shaft? Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that, obviously music compared to the freedom of a person's.
Well, other beautiful things would come come from it when people are free. Yeah.
And I should point out, by the way, I was talking to my wife about this, and she did want to point out for this episode that the three of us being white men,
of course,
are going to have a much easier time traveling back
of
in
course
time than she would, or a black person of color.
Yeah.
So we in terms of this conversation, we are pretty privileged in terms of where we where and how we can travel.
Especially like traveling back to a place where they ultimately speak the same language, where I could throw on some clothes and look the part of a middle-aged guy walking around Philadelphia. I could blend in. I would also bring a gun and lots of bullets, because they'd probably call me a witch and try to kill me too. So like, I'm getting out of there if I can.
I fear time travel because I will have all this knowledge of the innovations and current events, but none of the facts to back it up. This amazing thing called television. Tell us how it is made. I don't know.
Really? But you wouldn't have to say that. You could just make any shit up.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, wow, really? Fairies?
Fairies? Okay.
Cool.
I think they'd be really impressed just by the book binding on the book that I bring back.
Wow.
Like, look, this is what's going to happen.
Cool.
The printing of it.
Yeah. All of it. It's full color.
Whoa. Witchcraft. Okay, so we're at halftime, and we're going to regale and avail and prevail upon you to go back and listen to past episodes, download, rate, and review the back catalog of the Mount Rushmore podcast, because there's gems back there. If we could travel back in time and tell us, I would say, fix your mixing board and get some better microphones, and I would have done that sooner. And then you could also suggest future topics for us to tackle on the Instagram, the Twitter, and the Facebook. We'd appreciate it. Dudes! Okay. Richard, what's your third?
All right, my third choice, I also went with another sports one. This one, in 1906, I would go back to the invention of the forward pass. And I would have a backpack that's got a printout of every play that's in the current version of Madden. And I would get myself hired as a football coach in some scrub college or somewhere.
Yeah.
Brownsville College or something like that. And I would just start running roughshod on these fools. Can you imagine like a modern day coach going back to 1906 where like the forward pass was just like this brand new thing?
Yeah.
And running like trips left, XY's, 22 slot post. And these guys are like, we have the flying V. That's what we have. You would crush these teams.
Yeah.
It would be silly.
All of yours have been Adam Sandler films so far.
Yeah.
It seems like.
That's what I'm getting at. It's all click, basically.
Is there anything about what the opposition does? Would the opposition need to somehow learn to? No, right?
Wouldn't they? But when
they would adapt.
They would adapt
eventually.
a lot quicker than.
Well, eventually, it would take a few years, but in those few years, man, I would be like, it would be Georgia Tech versus Cumberland, 222 to nothing, like every game.
Yeah. Do you think they did that back in the day just because nobody had the imagination to do it, or had passing game gotten improved?
Well, I think that partially it was
because people probably had just like They had crayons. They could think, like, what if these guys Lefty did this crazy thing?
Well,
and-
it was the idea that literally the forward pass was not legalized until 1906. So there was no thinking about it whatsoever. And when it was legalized, most coaches still looked at it and said, well, why would I do that when I could get intercepted or I could get 0 yards, where if I run the ball, I'm at least going to get 1 or 2 yards.
Yeah.
So it was just it was like this very not even forward-thinking thing to do. It was until I think it was Pop Warner came along who really revolutionized the concept of the forward pass, either him or Alonzo Stagg. But the point being, their little brains can't handle this. It's 1906.
What would you be dressed like in 1906?
Yeah.
Oh, I would. I
Would
would
you have like a special hat or a cap?
A Mean Jeans T-shirt.
It would be pretty great if I just showed up like a modern day head coach, like in a tracksuit, basically, and they're like everyone else is like dressed in like a. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'd have like a bowler hat or something.
Special hat.
Yeah, some sort of hat and some. Yeah, that exactly. I think every coach at the time was known by whatever hat they wore.
Santa Claus hat.
Yeah.
It would be great to go back in time where all the food that you like to eat isn't bad for you yet.
That's true.
Like chili dog for breakfast.
Chili dog can't kill me. They didn't. Cigarettes? They're good for your asthma.
I eat one every day. Okay. All right. Forward pass. Okay, Michael, what's your third?
Traveling back to this time, I know I wouldn't be long for the world, but you got to go 65 to 75 million years back. Go to the Jurassic. You got to see a dinosaur.
Yeah.
You travel back with like a little backpack full of food. The oxygen levels are going to be fucked up. You're going to be breathing heavy, or it's gonna be tough.
Or will it be better because you don't have all the crap in the air?
Well, it depends. Depends on when you go. Sometimes it was heavily oxygenated, but then also heavily like there's a lot of carbon in the air too.
Yeah.
Oh.
So like it sucks to to live there when you're not a gigantic lizard.
Okay.
But I think just the experience of it. If you know, listen, you're on a one-way ticket.
Yeah. You're going to be the only human to see a dinosaur
ever.
Maybe you don't live that long, but you did it.
You've done it. It's very vain. It's very personal. But you're out there. Maybe you survive for a few weeks.
This is like something you do when you're 90, and you're like,
maybe
I'm pretty good if I don't make it more than a couple of weeks there. I live my time, but what a way to go out.
Well, it's tough because when you're 90, it's a lot harder to run away from these creatures. Not that I could really sprint from these things now.
You're dead no matter what.
At some point, you are going to die because one, listen, I'm not an outdoors person. I'm bringing like boxes of matches.
Yeah.
I might even bring one like a Duraflame log if I can fit it in the backpack. Just one.
Some cans, a couple of cans of corn.
Some canned food, some like like protein bars and things like bringing like the water bottles, but with like the filter, so you can pour any water into it, and it kind of like disinfects the water, or like those those kind of chlorine tablets. Like
You're gonna want a citronella candle,
yeah,
because those mosquitoes are at least 2 feet long.
You're gonna use the candle to hit the mosquitoes. But yeah, you want to have like some survivalist type stuff, and you know you're not there for long, but at least you get to experience the horrible smells and ferocious sights.
Yeah.
I thought of like maybe like 10,000 years ago, or 20,000 years ago, and seeing like mastodons, and we'd been to the tar pits recently, saber-toothed cat, or even like the glyptodon, that thing, that kind of big armadillo, like giant ground sloths. But then it's like, dinosaurs.
Yeah.
There's something that is just maybe it comes from having a 4-year-old. It never leaves you. The magic of dinosaurs and the idea of them is just.
You could blow minds if you strategized by traveling back in time to where a archaeological dig has unearthed dinosaurs.
Oh, there you go.
And then
you figure out where Sue was dug up,
and you start digging away.
And then put an iPod with headphones on the dead dinosaur. And so they dig up and go, what? A prehistoric iPod?
They were it was listening to T-Rex at the time.
What? What?
Dinosaur Jr.?
Dinosaur Jr.? Oh, my God. Oh, well done with the dinosaur puns. Okay. All right, Richard, your final.
All right, so my last choice is I would go back to the early 50s in New York. And I would become a television executive.
Oh, cool.
Because nobody knew what they were doing with television in the 1950s.
I fear that this just ends up with Richard trying to get I Love Lucy canceled.
Well,
The Puerto Rican is dragging the ratings down.
exactly. Well, maybe. But I think the bigger point is, with my knowledge of television shows that were successful, that we all have, of shows throughout TV history.
Yeah.
You could just start pitching shows and be like, so this guy, and he's an old-timey lawyer. He's a lawyer in the South. And know that Andy Griffith guy? Picture him, but like 40 years older. That type of guy.
That type of guy.
Yeah. Or, 4 retirees living in Florida. Boom.
Yeah.
There's a show.
There you go.
It'll work. Trust me.
There's a show.
You could do game shows, too.
Yeah,
You could do-
any game show. We should try putting sports on television. I bet that'll go over. Trust me, it'll go over.
All right.
Because the thing is, back at I was listening to an interview with Jim McKay, the Wide World of Sports host. And apparently he got his start on television literally because they wanted to broadcast the first horse race from Pimlico in Baltimore, Maryland. And they chose him, even though he was a reporter at the Baltimore Sun. It was the same company that owned the Sun's publisher also owned the TV station. And they chose him because he had no TV experience, but he had been president of his acting society in college. And that was good enough to get you on television back in the 1950s. And within like a year or two, he had his own like daily like variety show.
Wow.
So anybody, if you just said, because nobody thought television was going to last.
Yeah.
Nobody thought it was going to work. So if it was like, what, you actually want to work in television?
Mm-hmm.
Go knock yourself out.
Yeah.
And you would pretty much have freedom to do whatever you wanted.
Uh-huh.
I could be like the early Ernie Kovac before Ernie Kovac.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
So
Yeah.
let's say that this is the 50s, so you're in your middle 40s now. So fast forward 25 years, you're very wealthy now.
Yeah.
You're in your 60s. Can you prevent the variety shows happening from the 70s? Can you, like, you've risen up the
Ooh.
ranks. Can you just say, like, we're not doing any of this?
No Sonny and
no
Cher.
Sonny and
Sonny and
Cher.
Cher, the Brady Bunch,
Donnie Marie.
all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's,
No Dean
like, are
Martin.
you that powerful? Like,
I think I would
you'll
be
have
that.
lived for
Yeah,
20
I think
years.
I would be that powerful that I would have the power to green light or red light any show
Great.
on any network.
Love it.
Doesn't matter. I
Love
would
it.
be the all-knowing TV man.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Mr. Manfredi, one more question.
Yes, yes,
Um,
Jeff too.
This Sam Malone fella, he doesn't play baseball anymore, but he owns a drinking establishment. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
What's wrong with drinking and playing baseball at the same time? It's what everybody does. It.
He doesn't drink anymore. What kind of Nancy is he? Yes, changes might have to be made.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Winfield, your final choice, sir.
I would travel back 42 minutes into the past so Richard and I could have the same 4 choices so we could end this podcast once and for all. No. I would tell you what I would do, and it would be purely the most selfish of all of my choices. As I would travel back in time to 2001, and I would go and enjoy cheap concerts that I had already been to or had wanted to see around that time. 2001. Imagine getting to know that, like, this is the music, or like 2001, 2002. I went to so many concerts and loved seeing them. I loved seeing the concerts around then.
Right.
I would love to go back and see them and have ticket prices were so much cheaper.
Yeah.
God, going to a show for like $15 or $10, would be incredible. There's that bonus of if you go
Wait,
back.
do you kill the lead singer? Where's this going?
No. I mean, you do
He
have
goes
the
to
bonus.
see the band Hitler. And
You do have the bonus of, like, if you go back early enough in 2001, maybe you can prevent a 9/11, right? that's a bonus.
Yeah.
But if I'm getting to see Interpol, like right when Turn on the Bright Lights is coming out, man, I'm so excited to see that again. I can see them now. I've seen them now recently, Interpol.
Or think of all those bands that you didn't see because you didn't know them yet, and then like a year or two later they broke out. You could see them before they broke out.
It would be such an incredible tour of your own musical past that, like, I know that I love anyway. I know I love this music, and to see it for the first time, it's like the thing that people talk about with like new Star Wars movies. People don't want to see new Star Wars movies. They want to see Star Wars again for the first time. Like, you want that feeling of, oh my God, the first time I saw this thing, that's what I want to experience again. And you try to get it with like new Star Wars films. The closest you're going to get as a parent is to show these movies to your kids and see their reactions and feel it again. But like, to go back in time and like experience the music that like I just love so totally, and in like, God, for cheap. I can't get over like seeing cons for like $12. It seems so crazy to me.
Now, there's
That's
a
awesome.
problem that you might run into your past self.
I have that written down.
Okay.
I don't know if I would I don't know if I'd necessarily go see concerts in like Seattle during this time or Santa Barbara or whatever I was living. Maybe I'd still be in LA. But there's that ultimate temptation of like, God, I don't know if I could avoid sending an email to...
going up and
What if you
seeing-
talk to yourself and be like, fucking stay the course. Everything's going to be great. You're going to have a great life. And then you turn around and some weirdo at like a Death Cab for Cutie, and you're like, okay, listen to my favorite song. I don't know. I don't know. That would be a weird... There is that temptation. I think that mingling with your own past, and I probably couldn't avoid. I probably would do it just because I'm an asshole.
Big fedora hat.
Oh, okay.
Big fedora hat.
Can I borrow yours from the
You can
1950s?
Borrow mine from 1906. Yeah.
Wow, what a fun topic. That was unexpectedly kind of hilarious. So I love how personal you guys made it too. Michael, I think the longing that I feel from your choices there, especially like the dinosaur thing and the concert thing, is kind of going back and kind of reliving childhood or youthful memories a little bit. Pretty cool. And the aspiration of trying to advance the humane growth and actualization of this country a little bit more quickly than it has, because we're perfect now. Oh my God.
I'll self-analyze here that all of mine were basically just gaming the system.
Yeah.
For my own wealth and fame.
Unfair knowledge.
Richard is constantly looking for another job.
Yes, as usual.
You're just trying to find some other form of employment. I could be what are your skills? Well, I would be really good at football, drawing up football plays.
110 years ago.
110 years ago. I'd be great at that.
When my brother and I were homesick one day, I think, in all of grade school, and I remember we was watching Let's Make a Deal, and Monty Hall was out in the audience talking to housewives, and he said, "I'll give you $100 for every paperclip you have in your purse." And my brother, this was before you could freeze TV or whatever, but just turned and said, "Man, if I had a time machine, I would go back and show up with a purse full of 100,000 paper clips." And I remember turning him. He's like, "That's what you would do?" Wow. Go on, let's make a deal.
It's a simple thing.
Yeah. But at the same time, I would just love to see Monty Hall's face turn to the camera like, "We got to go to a commercial. We can't give this kid all of CBS. It's not going to work out." Okay, so cool choices. Let's go with some of Richard's Adam Sandler films, the baseball player and the forward pass. So I love that you just tackled half of Major League franchises right there with football and baseball. Those are fun. And because they're so, I think, emotional, well, everybody's going to pick. Hitler's got a line of people waiting to kill him in time travel. He's got Jean-Claude Van Damme. There's got to be
Junkyard Dog.
There's got to be now
the Inglourious Bastards.
Inglourious Bastards. Chris Pratt in this latest movie. So let's go with
what a turd that was. Anyway.
Yeah. Let's go with Founding Fathers and cheap concerts on those. So this has been the Mount Rushmore of traveling back in time. We, as always, are Jeff.
And Richard.
I'm Michael.
Bye.